What if the person you loved most was the one you could never touch? In a city that never slept, two people fell in love and discovered something terrifying. They could stand inches apart. They could hear each other's breath. They could look into each other's eyes for hours. But they could never touch. Every time they tried, something unseen pushed them back. No wall, no wind, just a force. And what they didn't know yet was that every time they tried again, it grew stronger. Hello everyone, welcome to Tales by Stacia, where every tale holds a secret. Lena first noticed it on a raining evening. The city was loud without car horns and washing feet, but under the bus shelter, everything felt distant. Rain drummed against metal like a warning. She and Eli stood close, sharing the narrow dry space. Her sleeve brushed his arm and warmth bloomed in her chest before she could stop it. Without thinking, she reached for his hand. She never touched it. An invisible shove pushed her fingers away. Not violent, not gentle either. It felt intentional, like something unseen was enforcing a rule. Lena gasped and stepped back, her heart pounding. Eli frowned. "Did you feel that?" She nodded, breath shaking, like the air just said no. They laughed after that. Soft, uneasy laughter. The kind people use when fear hasn't found its voice yet. But that night, Lena lay awake, watching headlights crawl across her ceiling. She held her own hand, pressing her fingers together, trying to remember what touch felt like. And somewhere across the city, Eli did the same. The next morning, they tasted it. They met at a cafe before sunrise, when the city was quieter, almost kind. No crowd, no noise, just the hum of machines and the smell of coffee. They sat across from each other, nails close, but not touching. Slowly, Eli said. They leaned forward together. The air thickened. The force returned, stronger now. Cups rattled, the table vibrated. Lena's chest tightened, as if the room itself had taken a breath and refused to release it. They were pushed apart, harder this time. The barrister stared. "Everything okay?" "Yes," Lena said quickly, forcing a smile. "Just static." But this wasn't static. This was a rule, and they had just broken it again. That evening, Lena noticed someone watching them. They were standing on the train platform, metal screeching, voices overlapping, announcement blurring into noise. Lena and Eli stood apart, as they always did now, eyes meeting across the invisible space. That was when she saw the woman. She sat on a bench nearby, hands folded neatly in her lap, too still for the chaos around her. Her coat was old, dark, worn thin at the edges. Her eyes weren't on the tracks. They were on the space between Lena and Eli. Lena shifted uncomfortably and leaned closer, careful not to cross the line. "Do you see her?" she asked softly. Eli glanced around. "The woman on the bench?" "She's staring," Lena whispered. "Not at us. Between us." The woman tilted her head slightly, as if she had heard. The train arrived with a roar of wind and noise. The moment swallowed the platform whole. When Lena looked back, the bench was empty. No footsteps, no movement, just absence. Eli exhausted slowly. "Probably nothing," he said. But Lena couldn't shake the feeling. That night, lying awake, she remembered the woman's eyes. Not curious, not surprised. Days passed, then weeks, and without meaning to, they adapted. They walked side by side with a careful distance, sat across tables instead of next to each other, stood at opposite ends of train platforms. The city swallowed their space easily. Distance was something it understood well. But love without touch is a quiet pain. Lina learned Eli's voice more deeply than his face. The way it softened whenever he was tired. The pause before he said her name. And Eli too memorized the rhythm of Lina's laughter. The way she inhaled before finishing a thought. They became experts at closeness that never crossed a line. At night, Lina watched couples on the train lean into one another, fingers intertwined, heads resting on shoulders. She wondered what rule those people had followed that she hadn't. And Eli began searching. Medical journals, psychology forums, obscure city myths buried in forgotten blogs. Nothing explained why two healthy people could be separated by nothing. Until he found one phrase, repeated in different places, by different voices. Some bounds are tested before they are allowed to last. The words stayed with him. The forces didn't come. It grew reactive. One evening, during rush hour, someone stumbled into Lina from behind. She fell forward, straight towards Eli. The force slammed between them. The impact threw them backwards into strangers. People gasped. Someone shouted. A security guard pushed through the crowd. "Are you alright? Are you alright?" he demanded. "Yes," Lina said, too quickly. Her hands were shaking. That night, when she got home, she cried for the first time. "It's getting worse," she whispered. What if one day we can't even be in the same place? Eli stared at the city lights behind her window, jaw tight. "Then we find out why," he said quietly, "before it decides for us." They stopped trying to touch each other. That was the hardest decision they ever made. 2 nights later, the old woman appeared. She sat across from them on the late train, hands folded neatly in her lap. Her eyes didn't blink when the train jolted. She stared at the space between Lina and Eli. "You shouldn't fight it," the woman said calmly. Lina's breath caught. "Fight what?" The woman's gaze softened. "The distance you are pretending isn't there." Eli leaned forward. "You can see it?" She nodded once. "I've seen it before." The train slowed. As the doors opened, the woman stood. "If you want answers," she said, her voice low, almost kind, "stop pretending love is only what you can touch." Then she was gone, but her words stayed, settling into the space between them. That night, Lina searched everywhere. Invisible barriers, emotional causes, psychological manifestations, urban legends. One sentence appeared again and again. Unresolved truth creates distance. Lina stared at the words. "What truth?" she whispered. She thought of Eli's silences, the places he avoided, the anger he hid behind jokes. And Eli thought of Lina's, her fear of staying, her habit of living first, the promise she made never to need anyone. The space between them felt alert, listening. The argument came the next morning. Not loud, not cruel, just honest. "You never tell me what happened to you," Lina said. "And you never tell me why you're afraid of staying," Eli replied. The air trembled. The force pushed them back, even though neither one of them had moved. They froze. "It reacts to truth," Eli whispered. "Or to lies," Lina said. Eli finally spoke about his brother. about the accident, about the guilt he carried like a second spine. As he spoke, the pressure eased, just a little. Lina felt it. Then she spoke about her father's leaving, about promising herself she will never depend on anyone, about loving Eli and being terrified of losing herself. The air softened. They were closer, not touching, but closer than before. The next day, the force returned, tense, impatient. Eli slammed his hands against it in frustration. There has to be a rule, he said. There's something we are still missing. Lina remembered the old woman's words. Stop pretending love is only what you can touch. Lina stepped back. I love you, she said. Then she walked away. Days passed. They didn't meet, they didn't text, they didn't chase. They faced themselves. Eli visited his brother's grave. Lina stayed without running. Something shifted. When they met again in the same cafe, the air felt lighter. They sat, they talked, they didn't reach. And slowly, almost carefully, the space between them shrank. Eli stood first. I don't need to hold you to love you. Lina stood too. I don't need to leave to protect myself. They stepped forward. This time, no force, no wall, no push. Their hands met. Warm, real, human. The barrier didn't shatter loudly. It faded, like mist in sunlight. Later, walking through the city hand in hand, Lina asked, why us? Eli smiled softly. Because love tests what we refuse to face. So after many trials, nights of reflection, small acts of courage, and shared secrets, the barrier weakened. The first time they touched without resistance, it felt like lightning and warmth all at once. Love, they realized, isn't just a feeling. It is patience, trust, and courage against the unseen forces that test it. And so, the story of Lina and Eli didn't win by fighting. They won by growing. And the city kept moving, never knowing two people had crossed the hardest distance of all. Not the space between their hands, but the space inside themselves.
If this story touched you, there are more awaiting for you here.
Like, subscribe, and come back for more interesting stories like